Hello everyone! This next game was suggested to me by Musa Bintali on Twitter, saying that it's a crazy and funny game played between two rusty engines. And by rusty, he probably means that they're not in the top three engines in this championship, even though they would both crush any human player in the world. You all know about the TCEC, it's the Top Chess Engine Championship. It has been played like a week ago or something, or a couple of days ago even, and Houdini won this championship. But now this is the same championship, only with rapid time controls. And so far, after 17 rounds, it's Stockfish actually in the lead, followed by Houdini. This is a game from round 15, played between Texel 1.07835 and Bobcat 8. It's a very exciting game, and like I said, I don't enjoy engine games, but 1 in 10,000 will be interesting like this, I guess. And none of the engines are allowed any opening books, so none of the engines knew any openings during these games. Knight to f3 by Texel, and we have knight to f6. And if you're wondering why is there a photo of a sheep, Texel is obviously some sort of a sheep. I don't think Texel is anything other than a type of a sheep, so that's why I put a photo of a sheep. No special reason. c4, the English opening, knight to c6, and d4. We have e6, e3, now d5, knight to c3, bishop to d6, and c5 immediately. Bishop to e7, now bishop to b5, bishop to d7, and the bishop captures on c6, immediately giving up the bishop pair. B captures on c6 and knight to e5, and it seems like something you would use in a bullet, maybe in a bullet game. Bishop back to d7, now castles. a5, stopping white from pushing b4. We have queen to b3, going after the b7 pawn. b6 now, defending, and c6. Bishop to c8, and this pawn on c6 is now beautiful. It's completely paralyzing black's queen side. Queen to c2, we have bishop to a6, rook to d1, and bishop to b4, with ideas of maybe bishop captures c3 and pushing b5. So a4, stopping that idea, knight to e4, and knight captures on e4. D captures on e4, and bishop to d2. And I know what you're wondering, why not capture this juicy pawn on e4? Well, if queen captures, then bishop to e2, and you lose the exchange. Although it's not that terrible for white. After something like bishop to d2, bishop captures, rook captures, rook captures, and castles, for example knight d7, and it seems like white does have compensation for the exchange, and I don't know, a human probably wouldn't enjoy playing this position with black, but with precise play I think black should prevail. So after d captures on e4, bishop to d2, now bishop captures, rook captures, and f6. Knight to d7, of course, and bishop to d3. Attacking the queen, queen d1, eyeing that g4 square to go for g7. h5, preventing the queen from coming to g4, and now comes rook captures on d3. White in the end did decide to give up the exchange, but it was on its own terms. E captures, queen captures, and rook to h6. Preventing queen g6 check. d5 now, and this is one happy engine, this Texel. Queen to e7, and now comes the monster move. Knight captures on b6. We have c captures on b6 and d5. So white first sacrificed the exchange with rook captures on d3. Now it sacrificed the whole piece with knight captures on b6. And currently in the position, white is down a whole rook. But there's a beautiful d6 and e6 passed, c6 and d6 passed pawn, and this will prove to be quite the compensation. Queen d8, we have rook to d1 now, and rook back to h8. Queen to b5, with ideas of pushing the pawn to c7. g6 now, and we have e4. Rook to c8, and it seems like black just blundered the rook. What if white plays pawn to d6 check, d7 check? Well, king f7, and you can't really capture because queen captures on d1 would check. You have to block, queen captures, king captures, and you lose the queen on c8 and the game. So after rook to c8, we have e5, and e5 is a spectacular move. king to f7 was played, and what happens if you play something like f5? Well, then rook to c1, and black is just doomed. King to f7, for example, and now c7. If you move the queen, and unfortunately you can't move the queen here, but if you do, then queen d7 check, king has to move, queen captures on e6. Now if you block with the queen, you lose the rook on c8, so after king h7, simply d7, and it's game over. So after c7, there's really no way to avoid losing this game. You could capture, but that's just losing. And you can't play something like rook to f8 with ideas of if white captures, then you will capture the rook on c1, winning the game, because white will capture the queen and bring a knight into the game, so promoting with check, a very nice under promotion. So after e5, black decided to play king f7, blocking this pawn. Rook to d3 now, king back to f8, now d7, rook to c7, and e captures on f6. You can't capture back, simply d8 queen or rook to f3, doesn't really matter. King to f7, now blocking the pawn again, h3, h4, and queen captures on b6. Rook to h5, now b4, a captures, queen captures, now white created another passed pawn. Rook to d5, rook captures, e captures, and now queen to d6. We have d4, a5, d3, a6, d2. Now queen captures on d2 and king captures on f6. And in this moment, when Bobcat 8 captured the pawn on f6, it decided to resign the game. It seems like, well, black doesn't really have a good move, but it's interesting, how does white win this? Well, the idea is that the black's king is simply too exposed, so it's quite simple to win this. For example, queen d6 check, king f7, now queen to c5, giving black the move, but preparing a7. King to e6, queen to e3 check, for example, king d6. If you play king d6, queen e8 wins immediately. You'll either grab the queen, or queen will grab queen, and then you get another queen with winning endgame. But after queen e3 check, you don't have to go king d6, you can go king f7, for example. But now again, a7, for example, g5, black doesn't really have anything to play. Queen b3 check, king e7, queen a3 check, you move the king, and now a8, you bring another queen into the game, and it's game over. So yeah, that's the game. After king f6, Bobcat 8 resigned the game, and Texel 1.07835 created this, well, a masterpiece amongst engines. I do hope you enjoyed it. As usual, you can check two of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon. And just for the end, I'm thinking about making, for example, a Sunday or a Saturday day for subscribers games. So I'm interested to know, would you be interested to sharing your own games? For example, sending me a game, but it has to be a tournament game played in classical time controls. Sending me a game, you know, sharing a bit of a background story about this game, and maybe a photo of you and your opponent. So that's what I want to know. Would you be willing to share this for other people to see and enjoy? So yeah, that's it. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon.